Hello guys. There's a video I wanted to make for a little bit now. This is gonna be another, like, these kind of tip videos. This is a mechanic that I use this all the time in Deep Dungeon. It's probably one of the mechanics I use the most. And even though it's one of the things I use the most, it's probably the lesser known thing overall. Like, there's not really any videos talking about this. A lot of people don't even realize I'm doing it. So today what I'm going to talk to you about is Pomander Animation Canceling. And stick with me. This is not a meme. I know it sounds, like something I made up. It sounds like, oh, you just have to, you just have to press your nose and spin on your chair 3 times, and then you can door skip out of your rooms. I swear it's not like that. It's a natural thing. So let's just start with the basics. So when you use a Pomander, there's like a delay, right? Like, animation locks you for a while, and then you can move. So I will just show it to you. As the bottom left, you can see there is an input overlay. So you can see the inputs I'm going to be doing. All I'm going to be doing is I'm going to press W, and I'm going to use the Pomander, while I'm running, and then I will never let go of the body. So you can see what it looks like when you use the Pomander normally. So this is what it looks like when you're using your Pomanders normally. So there's like a pretty lengthy animation delay, and then you can keep running. But what if I told you there's actually a way to mitigate that delay and make it much smaller? And this is what I'm going to be talking about. It's animation canceling your Pomander. Let's call it Pomander Animation Cancel. So very simple. It's a few inputs together. It's going to be a combination of W, of spacebar, and left click, right? So this is a very specific timing. It's not a tight timing though. Once you get it done a few times, you can get it done almost 100% of the time. So I'm going to show you what it's like. So I'm going to do the animation cancel now. You see what happened there? I jumped as I was using the Pomander. And the way this prevents you from being animation locked for too long is basically you're going to be starting the animation while you're in the air. But we're not jumping, in place. We're jumping forward, which means that the momentum is going to carry us forward through like a good chunk of that animation duration. So yeah, that's kind of neat, right? So why is that like a big deal, and why am I using that nonstop? Well, of course, the first obvious usage of this. Just let me kill that monster so he's not in the way. So of course, the first very obvious, usage of this is it's trying to save you time, because whenever you're using a Pomander, you're going to be running away for a longer. You're going to cover more distance, basically, because you're going to be in the momentum of your jump for some of that duration. So I will show you with these 2 markers. So this is the one I'm going to be doing. I'll be using a timer for this as well. So I will start a timer as soon as I start moving off this. And then I will stop moving when it ends. So for this one, I will do it without the canceling. So I will do it now. I'll just use a Pomander normally. And I'll stop moving when the last... like that. So this is as far as I got. Doing no canceling. About there. Now I'll do the same thing. But I will animation cancel. So we'll do it there. So doing the same thing. Timer's gonna start. So as you can see, very clearly, we cover a little more ground. So this is like peanuts, right? This is not really a lot of time. But it does add up. If you're going to be using, I don't know, let's give a generous number. If you're going to be using 20 Pomanders over the course of your run, not, when you're not standing on the key, then, you're going to cover that distance more 20 times. So yeah, it's not a big deal. That's probably like, I don't know, maybe a room. So that's not that big of a deal. But the reason I still recommend you do that strategy all the time is actually for a totally different reason. The time save is nice. But what's really nice with this strategy is if you get used to doing this every time you use a Pomander, it is going to make your life so much simpler when you're trying to dodge AoEs. Because you're gonna notice I'm going to show you 2 examples. So just if you're running around, if you're running around and you just use your Pomanders, without doing the jump cancel thing, then I'll show you what is very likely to happen. You're just going to be running, then you're going to be like, oh, should I use an Affluence? Okay, I use an Affluence. And then you're like, oh shit. You'll barely make it out of AoEs. Because you're going to be standing still in place for a longer time. Which means you're more likely to get hit by an AoE. So now what happens if you're using your Pomanders like that, but instead of stopping in place, you're always doing the canceling, right? So you're like, okay, what should I use next floor? I don't really know. Like maybe I should use a safety. And then you're not really sure, and then you commit to it, and you're like, okay, I'll use a safety, and you happen to be running a straight line. Then if you're already doing that jumping momentum thing, you are much more or less likely to be hit by an AoE. Now I know I just showed you I showed you both examples, and then I did not get hit for either of them, but I think you can see how much more likely, how much more close it was when I did not cancel my animation. So I think this is probably the best reason to just do this for every Pomander. Like you're going to be running a straight line at some point, and whenever you're running a straight line, it's time to use your Pomander. That's the way I like to see it. So running a straight line, time to use your Pomander. Now the second reason that this is a very strong thing to do, I'm going to show you. So especially if you're scrolling, you're going to be doing big AoE pulls quite often. Now the danger if you stop to use the Pomander when you're doing a pull like that is that there's probably going to be a lot of AoEs that are coming at you, at all times. So if I were to stop in my tracks right now and use a Pomander, I'm much more likely to get hit by something. And if you've done a lot of deep dungeons at all, you probably agree with this. Like I'm sure multiple times you've stopped in your tracks to use a Pomander when you have multiple things on you, and then things just kind of kick your ass, right? Like they all attack you at the same time, or they just did abilities. Which is why I highly recommend that you do this trick I showed you, because I'm going to show you how much more simpler it makes the AoE pulls. So right now I have a lot of things on me, very dangerous, lots of incoming damage. And if I stop in my tracks, I would die probably two auto attacks from each monster. So instead what I'm going to be doing, I will animation cancel behind this wall, like that. Saw that? By doing that, the monsters did not all stack up on me at the same time. I also went, I was out of all the AoEs, which is nice. Because, if they all happened to be doing their AoEs under me, as I was doing it, then it would have been, pretty annoying. So just a good habit to take in general. Like, it's just, there's really no reason not to do this every single time you use a Pomander. In fact, if you watch me and Angelus, often, then you probably notice that we are doing this, like, literally every single Pomander we use. And that's for the reasons I gave you. First reason, it's a little bit of a time save. Second reason, it's just a good habit to take, because then if something's going to shoot an AoE at your feet, you're less likely to be standing still, standing inside of it because you were using a Pomander. And third reason, it's just much more easier to use a Pomander in combat if you animation cancel it. So 2 other small points I'm going to add to this. If you happen to come across a stair, or like a height difference, then if you use that trick, you're actually going to save the entire animation, which can be nice. You can also use it with sprint. So I'm going to show you the most extreme example. I'll do this trick I just showed you, but with the stairs. And you're going to see I'm going to have 0 animation I'll have to sit through. So I'll do it there. So saw that? As soon as I landed, I could already start moving. Even though the jump momentum, like basically the jump momentum lasts the entire animation, because there was a big 8 difference. So like I had to fall for longer. And then the second thing I want to mention is that this also works for Demiclones and Magicites. So it's still useful for them. It's less useful than Pomanders, but it is still going to work. So I can do the same. So yeah, that's about what I wanted to show you guys for the Pomander canceling. So I didn't really mention like the inputs you have to do for this. It's because it's a very... I kind of struggle to describe what is the input. What is the input exactly? Like basically, you want to press and jump around it just a little bit later. It's a very tight timing. But yeah, basically the inputs are kind of hard to explain, which is why I put the input overlay again, which are at the bottom left of the video. So it's going to be much easier to replicate what I told you by looking at the inputs. So anyway, this was just a short video I wanted to make. So yeah, Pomander Animation Canceling. Natural strat, I do almost every time I use a Pomander. I highly recommend you get used to doing it. It also works on controller, by the way, but it's I'm not the guy to look at for controller tips, but I know it works on controller. But anyway, thank you for watching the video. I will see you guys next time.